Good morning, everybody. I am Evelyn Thoren. This is the Dawn Patrol. We're on from 6 to 7, and we have City Life from 7 to 8. So we are with you for about 2 hours. And if you note in the lower left-hand corner of your screen, it's 6 a.m. in dark Lowell. Sun's not up yet. So that's the only thing I don't like about getting up this early.
It's dark.
Yes, it's dark.
It's going to get brighter next Monday, though.
Yep, clocks go back this weekend.
So don't forget to turn your clocks back Saturday. And there's some interesting comments on Facebook with regard to that. We may even get to that. You never know. Sam Chase is my co-host this morning. And Bob Hoey is doing some family duties, and we wish him well, and we miss him, because we do have Jay Lang coming on at 7, and so perchance if Bob's up extra special early, if you text me some questions that you may want to ask Jay, I would appreciate that. I did text you last night, but I know that you're busy and preoccupied. So, we have an election on Tuesday.
Really?
Amazing. As if
I'm glad you reminded me.
Yeah. You know, there's nothing much going on out there.
Actually, we've had an election going on for a couple of weeks now because of early voting and
Well, it depends what state you're in.
And I think all states have some form of
Yeah, but some of them
voting.
started very early, like in September.
Right, and some of them are stopping early. Massachusetts, and we go up through tomorrow.
Yep, the 1st of November.
Right.
It's hard to believe that tomorrow's the 1st of November. Gosh.
Yes, it is. We're almost in 2025. I've been, for the last 2 weeks, I've been working on getting the tax rate for Chelmsford set through the Department of Revenue. And of course, my brain is fiscal 25, fiscal 25, fiscal 25. So I'm
already there.
So I'm already there. Okay, and Massachusetts is on a fiscal year that runs from July 1st through June 30. So actually, we have all fiscally been in 25 since July 1st. So fiscal 25 is almost half over.
Well, anyway, so it wasn't too bad coming in this morning. It was like in the mid-40s. It's supposed to get into the 70s today, so it will be a warm Halloween.
Yes.
And those of you who do celebrate it as something special, happy Halloween. I also remember, and it's nice that we have Facebook sometimes, because they do send you memories. And I think it was 2011, we wouldn't have been sitting here because we had like 2 feet of snow. And, you know, we weren't sure if we were losing power. And then I think in 2020 we had snow. I'm not sure, but because there was some stuff that was on there.
I think we did lose power back in 2011. I think, yes, because that's when my wife said, we're getting a generator. After we went through that.
Well, I lost 2 blue spruces. One went over on my brother-in-law's boat.
Ouch.
And then we, paid to have that fixed. But because they went over, we didn't, pull them back up again. We just took them out of there, which was unfortunate, because they were gifts when we bought the house from people who were no longer with us. So it was a little bit sentimental. I was very sad about losing my trees. So a lot of different things going on. People want to make sure that they do check in their yard if they have trees and branches and that, if you have power lines overhead. We don't where we live. We don't have power lines, so we don't have to worry too much about that. Everything is underground and has been since they built the place, that street.
I never noticed that. How many times have I been down your street? I never noticed that.
What's interesting is Pinewood Road in
So
Chelmsford.
they were way ahead of the curve, because your place was built, what, in the 1980 time frame?
Yes, late 80s. Late 1980. And then we moved in 1981.
Oh, okay, all right.
So, and I've been going through pictures and things, so if I have pictures of different things, I will take them and send them to John. But I've been doing mostly stuff with family, coming across some very interesting pictures. One of the pictures I came across was my sister and myself And I'm 73, she's 69, and it looked like she was 3 in the picture for Halloween. I thought that was kind of a cute picture, plus all the other stuff with kids, my kids, her kids, and that. So, not that anybody needs to know all of this trivia as far as family goes, but
How
I
many,
did.
how many trick-or-treaters do you typically get
Excuse me.
on Pinewood? I wouldn't think too many.
You had to ask.
Of course.
I would say we get 30 or 40.
Well, I think for your neighborhood, that's a lot.
They're not all on the street.
No, they wouldn't be.
No, so we get 30 to 40 kids, maybe. I never, when you buy the big packages of candy and stuff, I hardly ever go through anything. I've never gone through a whole
No,
one of those.
We always have too much, and of course, where we are, we're in the center of town, so we usually get quite a few kids. And my wife buys like you say, the big packages, and she pulls out all the Snickers bars, because that's my favorite, and she'll hold those in
This is
reserve.
one of my birthday presents.
There you go.
I have to,
Oh, look at the hair.
Yeah,
have to dye the sides. For
You
my
don't have
birthday.
enough, you don't have enough, you need a little bit more orange hair, I think.
My son Jack and
That's funny.
his wife Shannon gave me all these Trump presents. I got my calendar for next year, so I said he's a Kamala voter,
Who is?
my son Jack.
that's
Oh,
too
okay.
bad.
And
I feel sorry for him.
Hey,
he has all the reasons, but he gave me all this Trump.
you vote for who you want to vote for.
It's
So
Massachusetts.
I hope Trump gets in so I can wear my stuff. And I got
If you're a Trump voter, you might as well stay home, because your vote's not going to count in this state.
Well, you never know.
We always dream we're going to give a surprise.
I'll tell you, if Trump were to carry Massachusetts,
I'd be
And I got
shocked.
this
then
guy.
I would believe,
My grandson put
In
this
the
on
Tooth
right away,
Fairy,
running
okay?
around with this.
Second coming.
Had
Yeah.
a good time.
I would, if Trump were to carry Massachusetts, I would, at that point, would believe that just anything in the whole world was possible. I would believe that.
Well,
Yeah.
it will be interesting to see just how many people in this state vote for him.
What do you
Well,
think?
yesterday we had.
I don't know.
What, it was yesterday? Yeah,
38%.
Colleen Gary came in, right?
That's my number.
Colleen Gary came in, and
Is she a Trump supporter?
she made the mistake of saying, I voted yesterday, and she voted for Harris.
Well, what a shock.
And the hate texts started to come in, condemning her to not going to vote for her. And
Why,
I mean,
Yeah, but that's ridiculous.
people are overly emotional about this election. I don't.
No, they're just overly.
well,
People
no.
are overly emotional just about anything if you don't agree with them. It doesn't matter what the subject
That's
is.
true, but John is right. In this particular election, my sense, I could be wrong, because I'm just, an observer here, but my sense is that people are voting more on emotion than anything else. And when people ask my opinion, I say, you've got to get by that, and you got to get by the two people at the top of the ticket. Forget them, okay? And look at the philosophy that their parties represent. And I said, that's, if you really want to have a thoughtful vote, that's what you want to do. So, I mean, if you are basically a person who believes in personal freedom and the government shouldn't be intruding into your lives, then you probably shouldn't be voting for Harris, okay? If you're somebody who believes that the government really is the referee of last resort and should have control and should set standards and so forth, then you probably shouldn't be voting for Trump, okay? So, align your political philosophy with the philosophy that the candidacies represent. Because if you're going to make an emotional vote, and if you're going to vote for somebody because you can't stand the other candidate and that's the only reason, and that's fine. I mean, that's your right. You're an American. You can do whatever you want. I mean, vote the way you feel you should vote. If it's emotional, that's fine. I'm not going to argue you shouldn't do that. All I'm saying is that if you're concerned about the result of what's going to happen after the person gets elected, then you probably want to go a little bit deeper than an emotional vote. That's all I'm saying.
I don't think I ever emotionally voted. That's not my
No,
character.
no, I would be shocked if, knowing you, I'd be shocked if you did, and of course, I don't vote emotionally either. I have voted for people in the past that I personally can't stand, but their philosophy of governing aligned with mine, and that's why they got my vote, okay?
But I also, I'm going to lead into something here, but the schools that I went to, now remember, we have to have a frame of reference here. I'm 73,
Oh,
okay?
just a
and
kid.
You're, and,
Just a
and
kid.
Even John is 73 now.
well, I'm the oldest one in the room, so there you go.
Right, but I mean, in our time frame, when we went to elementary school, we went to high school, and I grew up in the city of Quincy. So it isn't as if I came from the south
And it was a city back then.
or the
You don't even know
Midwest.
that Evelyn is superior to us.
No,
Was
City-
Quincy,
you gotta set the stage.
Quincy would have done.
was
But
Quincy
no, it's the city of Quincy.
City of Quincy, was Quincy a city when you were a kid?
Yes.
It was, okay.
Did they have electricity?
You're funny. We even were on sewer.
Oh,
The-
wow. Boy, you guys were really
Yeah.
progressive.
We could
right?
flush the toilet roll too. We had sewer.
But we couldn't be on natural gas because there was too much ledge.
We had gas.
Yeah, we didn't.
See?
Where we were, we
The
had oil
city of
heat.
Quincy was backwards to Lowell.
Well, regardless of what it is and what it is today, the point I'm trying to make is when I was in school,
Quincy's smaller than
we didn't really talk about politics within the classroom. I'm talking elementary school. We did the reading, writing,
You're right.
arithmetic, the history.
that is
You know,
correct.
the American history,
Yep.
and because we were city of presidents, you have field trips, and I mean, there was all kinds of stuff that we did, and it was in comparison today, the subjects were very benign. Then, when I got into junior high and high school, you did have some of the teachers that were a little bit more liberal than what it was when I was in elementary school. However, they wanted a balanced view of whatever was in history. And so when we did, I'm trying to think of what year it was, I think it was 1968 and 67. And we had already gone through Kennedy's assassination in '63, and we were well into the Vietnam War, and we talked about that. And we also, the history teacher that I had did require that we subscribe to Newsweek and Time magazine. And somewhere in my house, I kept those magazines for that year. So we'll have to see if they're worth anything. Very interesting, because that was part of current events. So instead of dealing with newspapers, we dealt with those magazines. Those magazines weren't as liberal as they are today. But the point I'm trying to make is it was more of a balanced view. And I recall that I think it was 68. Whatever the history was that we were taking at the time, we were talking about communism and socialism and democracies, and of course we're a constitutional republic. But we were talking about all the different kinds of things, and the woman set up a debate, the teacher I had, and so I didn't want to do it, but I had to defend communism. And then obviously there were other students that were on the side of democracy. And then the kids had to vote, and of course democracy won. But she took me aside and she said to me, if they voted on the basis of what you said, you should have won, because of what my arguments were in favor of it. I do not believe in it, but I was asked to do that. But because I had to take a different view, I understood better about what it was that if you had it, what it would mean for everyone in that particular country. But you don't have that necessarily today. I was speaking to a friend of mine on the way in this morning. She's an early riser, and she was concerned about some things
Did you
going
call
on.
her or did she call you?
Oh, I always call her on the way in,
There you go.
because it's Thursday morning. How does she know?
And she's up at that time.
Always.
Okay.
Early riser. And so it's not only just her, but it's many people that lean more moderate to right than moderate to left, politically speaking. And they're very much concerned because in the school systems, especially in Massachusetts, I do not believe, and please correct me if I'm wrong, we should ask Jay, I don't think he knows either, that they really don't teach a balanced view of both sides of the issues. They lean woke, they lean left, they lean liberal, they lean, more pro-female than trying to balance out what's the differences so people have an understanding, they can form their own opinion. But I guess the concern is something similar that happened with my guys when they were in middle school, that during a presidential election, they usually either school-wide or in the class, they'll hold an election.
Yeah, we used to do that, I remember.
And we did it.
Yep.
But because we're in Massachusetts, the Democrat always wins. But in my day, they would ask, why did you vote the way you did? And you get up and you defend your position. That's not happening in classrooms today, I don't believe. And if I'm wrong, please correct me.
We'll ask the superintendent when he comes in.
I don't think he knows, but Linda would know.
I'll bet he does know.
You don't know.
Jay is, I've interviewed him several times on my show, and I find he walks a very fine line. I think he does it well. I mean, you can be excessive to the point where you're a micromanager, or you can be totally hands-off and not know what's going on. Those are the two extremes. And my sense of Jay Lang is that he really walks a middle ground. I mean, he's grounded, he knows what's going on under him, but he's not involved to the extent that he's, micromanaging his people, so.
Yeah, but that's a wise position, because
No,
if
he's
something
a
goes wrong,
He's a good manager. Yeah,
the
he's a
buck
good
usually
manager.
stops in his office. So
Yes.
he would be able to know or
Yes.
defend or understand the situations. But there's an awful lot of situations I'm sure he is not aware of.
I can remember when I was in high school, and this was back in the early 1960s, and I was a senior in high school, and we had the 1964 presidential election. And if you remember, that was very, very heated and controversial, because Barry Goldwater, Senator Goldwater, was running against Lyndon Johnson, and Johnson, of course, was the incumbent president. And Goldwater was painted by his opponents and a lot of the national media at the time as an extreme right-wing crackpot. That's how they
Well,
portrayed
you know
him.
how he actually lost.
And
You remember the ad? The advertisement?
I absolutely remember the ad. Okay.
With the atomic bomb
Yes.
blowing up, and
Uh,
people basically saying,
I've
if
got
you
to
elect
look up
him, this is
this.
what we're going to get?
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
Yeah.
The reality of it was, after several years of when the election passed, and that's not what the point of my story is, but I'll get back to it. But to follow up on what you just said, of course, the election, Goldwater only got 27 million votes. I mean, he got absolutely crushed, okay, in that election. Johnson came in and, of course, escalated the Vietnam situation to a
He also
point
made it political.
that, he made it very political, that
That's why we
it shouldn't have been.
had an issue.
When they went back years later to do an analysis, they realized that if Goldwater, first of all, Goldwater was a professional military guy. He was a brigadier general in the Air Force, okay? If Goldwater had been elected, it's my opinion that we would not have escalated Vietnam to the point that it was escalated. Okay, that's just my opinion. People can
This is
disagree.
Sam's word this morning, crackpot.
Yeah, crackpot.
I thought I'd help out a little bit and look it up for us.
You've never heard that word before?
I've heard it before, I didn't know what
Okay.
it actually means.
All right, let's see. What does it say?
It says, well, first of all, look at the cryptic thing, crack with two Ks. And why didn't they just put P-O-T? They put P with two
Because
dots.
that is the phonetic, that's called a phoneme situation. That's how you pronounce,
Well, I would
yeah,
put P-O-T.
right.
So at any rate, it's an eccentric or foolish person.
Mm-hmm.
People who claim famous identities are usually dismissed as crackpots.
Right.
Eccentric, impractical. His head is full of crackpot ideas.
Yeah. I think eccentric probably is
What does crackpot mean in slang?
Hmm.
Person is crazy or stupid. There you go. All right.
so it's a perfect
A
word.
fruitcake.
But that's how they
Screwball.
portrayed Goldwater.
Now, just
Yeah.
for the dummies out there, is crackpot negative or positive?
Well,
Derogatory.
Fairly derogatory.
Yes.
It's highlighted here.
But you were going to make another
So
point.
the point is, you talked about the students having the mock election. So we did, in high school, they had the mock election. And Johnson got all the votes. Every student in the school voted for Lyndon Johnson except for two people.
You.
I voted for Goldwater, and Sharon Niles.
Your then girlfriend?
No, nice girl. I knew her quite well.
Did you date her?
No.
Okay.
But I had some classes with a very nice girl. Her father, Sharon's father, was chairman of the Concord Town Republican Committee. So that was to be expected that she and I were the only ones who voted for Goldwater. And you say, well, how do you know that? Because it's a secret ballot. But because Sharon and I talked about it afterwards, and she says there were two votes. She says, and I can tell you I was one of them. And I said, well, Sharon, I was the other. So we knew, right? But of course, my household was divided. My father was a Republican. My mother was a Democrat. And my mother was a Democrat to the core. She wouldn't even vote for Eisenhower, which most Democrats did in Massachusetts. And but.
Yeah, but my father was military, so
And,
he was always.
What's
and-
brought on the anger? Yeah, I mean, yesteryear, I could say like, I like Mickey and you like
Sure.
Goofy, and would be okay.
Everything's fine,
But
right?
why the hell are we? No, you like Goofy. I hate you.
Oh yeah, you can't be my friend.
Kicking you out of the family.
Yeah, you can't be my
Disowning
friend.
you.
It seems like so many people today base all of their decisions
Well, what happened?
looking through a political partisan filter, and it's wrong.
Is it the COVID drug we all took that's
I
making
have
us
no
mad
idea.
at everybody?
Don't know.
No, I think, we.
Do we know any
I don't know that we have the time this morning to go through an analysis.
Do we have any do you know any psychologists or psychiatrists, John, that you could have on the show? Maybe they could explain it for us, because I don't know the
I'm
answer to
blaming it
that.
on the COVID. We all
I
took a
don't know.
COVID shot and made us cuckoo.
No, it was before that.
Oh, don't say cuckoo.
Well, I think it certainly didn't help, but I think we had the problem
Oh, no,
before
you had the
COVID.
problem before
Yeah.
that. People would be, you had less percentages of people that would be angry at you politically if you didn't agree with you.
Right.
It's gradually has grown. And part of it is the victim mentality that has been pretty much institutionalized within our society. And as you become the victim, you
agree.
gain power
That's
with
good.
regard to that. Even though maybe somebody may disagree with me on that, you have to be right. Not right in terms of left and right, but right in terms of correct. And people cannot take failure. That's why everybody gets the trophy. And when you have a society where everybody gets a trophy because you participated, you don't have necessarily winners and losers. Then if you have a winner or a loser, they don't know how to handle that. So you have, a lot of sayings from years ago that through failure you gain success, because at least you know what it was like to fail, so that you know what to do the next time so you don't.
That is exactly correct.
So as you go through life, if you don't have failures in your life, then...
You don't ever learn anything.
True. But if you have successes,
Right.
it can go to your head. And then if you have failures, you can have a nervous breakdown because you can't handle it, because you haven't been... Your personality hasn't been trained to say, well, if I make a mistake here, I'm not going to worry about it because this is what I did to make the mistake. I'm not going to do that again. And some of it may have to do with the disciplinary approach that parents have with their children, in that they don't reprimand them. I don't mean beat them to death. I'm just saying that they don't take the time to tell them what is right and wrong, and then what did you learn as a result of what you did, cause and effect. Your consequences of your actions. Sometimes you can have that in advance,
Wow.
because behavior is predictable. That's why you can study behavioral psychology. And that's why we can study psychology, and you ask about it, because it's something that it's very difficult not to be able to predict human nature. Some people are better at being predicted than others, but there's a lot of give and take that's there, and part of it is the way that our culture has approached success and failure, winning and losing, and it's unfortunate.
And jumping off from what you just said, I agree with everything you said. The other component is that we are encouraged to not take responsibility for our actions. You know, if we do something wrong,
It's somebody else's fault.
it's somebody else's fault, okay?
Have you ever been to prison? Talk
Pardon?
to anybody in prison. They didn't do it.
Well, of course, they're all innocent. Yep, that's right. But that's you know, I thank my parents weren't perfect. I don't think anybody's parents were perfect, and certainly I wasn't perfect as a parent. And my parents did a lot of stuff wrong. But the one thing my father did right in terms of raising us, he made it crystal clear that we were responsible for our own actions. And whenever we did something wrong, and we started as kids, because you know how kids are naturally, nothing's ever their fault, right? You know, my father would look at it and he'd say, look in the mirror. Look in the mirror. You made the choice to do whatever it was. And now you have to bear the consequence. And that was literally beaten into me as a small child. So even today at 77, when I do something and I screw up, the very first thought that comes into my head is, I screwed up. I screwed up. Not you, not something you said, not something, I screwed up. What do I need to do to fix it? And then, of course, sometimes the answer is I didn't screw up, and it takes me a while to get there because I always blame myself first, because you make the choice. You've decided to do this, or you've decided not to do that, and there is a consequence for your decisions, okay? So people can feel badly because they're not doing well economically, and I don't mean to suggest that we aren't victims sometimes, okay? Because we are, okay? But the bottom line is you've made choices in your life to either do things or not do them. And as a result of those choices, you have to live with the consequences. And, you know, if you chose not to go to school, that's not somebody else's fault. That's your fault, okay? You could have gone in a different direction, all right? Now, if you were prevented from going to school, that's a different discussion, okay? And people are in that category. I don't say that we're never victims, because we are victims sometimes, but we're not victims all the time, is what I'm saying.
Right, but
we all make choices.
You have to be careful,
Right.
because there is some fine lines there that you cross over into needing to be a perfectionist because you don't want to handle failure.
Right.
And we're getting deep in the weeds in terms of
Yeah,
psychology
you're getting
here.
boring here.
Neither one of us are we probably should stop, because neither one of us are psychologists, okay?
No, but at least I have a minor in
So
it.
next Thursday, the
Oh, I
election
don't.
will be behind us.
Well, I don't know, will it? Because remember what happened in 2000?
Yes, I believe that the Americans,
Mm-hmm.
the people that the media like to call the unwanted, the unenrolled in Massachusetts, the independents, the people who are not members of a party, I'm going to call them Americans, because that'll tick off
But
the
that's most-
Republicans
that's
and
most-
and the Democrats. I'll tick them both off. They're not Americans. Yes, they are.
But they're both, that's most people. Most people are unenrolled.
Most people do not belong to a party.
Right,
For a reason.
And
I
I'm going
don't.
to call them the Americans.
the Americans.
The Americans are going to vote this time.
Good.
The Americans will decide, not the parties. And we're going to see a big change. And I listened to Great Britain News this morning.
What are they saying
YouTube.
over in the UK?
Oh, they're all whining.
Why?
Taxes went way up. And the leader of the government, whatever she's called, the prime minister, lied. She said she'd cut taxes.
I'm shocked.
And she lied. And everybody in England is stunned.
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 They have very short memories.
Stunned. The politician actually lied.
Well, you
You
know,
have a lackluster media that didn't say, if you don't lower taxes by the first year you're in office, will you resign? We got to start asking that question.
Yeah, but that's not going to happen. Sometimes it takes a lot longer than 1 year to do that, especially if you have
Well, then let them explain it, Evelyn.
Well,
no, I mean, when you
I'm
get-
going to do that.
When you get to the top,
She just got in and put taxes up.
but a lot of
I
times.
got you, but when you get to the, when hold that thought for a
Yeah.
second so I don't forget mine. When you get to the top of the ladder, sometimes it takes you a little bit longer to finish the project than you anticipated. And you may end up with some obstacles that you hadn't anticipated. For instance, in the American government, there's certain things that both candidates are promising, but they has to go through Congress
They
to
can't do
achieve
it,
it.
right.
They can't do it by executive order. They can try, but if they do certain things, then they would be a candidate for impeachment. So that being said, go ahead.
Well, that's exactly right. And for example, Harris says, well, I'm going to lower grocery prices. Well, how are you going to do that? You can't do it by executive order, okay? I mean, the government has absolutely nothing to do with grocery prices. But, it's almost insulting when they talk that way to people, because, when you listen, and Trump does the same thing. He says ridiculous stuff that he can't possibly do either. I mean, they all do it, all right?
Because if he wants to if he wants to have no tax on tips
Yeah.
and all the other things that he's
I
promising.
think that's a great idea. No
Well-
tax on Social Security?
Yeah, but
What do we do that?
Yeah, but did you actually read his program?
No.
Okay.
I'm not a reader. I'm a listener.
Well, well, he says no tax on Social Security, and if you look at really what they want to propose.
Who's
and,
the they?
the Republicans, part of their platform.
No, but it's going to be, Trump don't care about the Republicans.
No, I understand that, because he's not really a Republican.
He don't care.
He's populist. He's not a Republican.
You can say, well, Trump's Trump. You can nickname him anything you want,
a
but Trump is
populist.
Trump.
He's a
He's a
populist.
populist.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a nifty word. I'll look that one
Look it up. Look it up.
Populist.
He's a populist. He's not really a Republican in the traditional sense of being a Republican. The program that they're proposing for Social Security is no tax on Social Security up to a certain income level. So if you're only living on Social Security,
There's no tax.
if that's your only
Is that the
income,
word, Sam?
what? Populist, Populist.
Okay.
All right.
A person, especially a politician, who strives to appeal to an ordinary audience, ordinary people.
It's not on our screen if you want to put it on the
Let
screen
him read
for
it, though.
people.
Go ahead.
Son of a.
Doesn't that describe Trump? Read the words. Doesn't that describe Trump?
It describes a lot of politicians.
Yeah, but it certainly describes Trump, doesn't it?
A person, especially a politician, who strives to appeal to the ordinary people who feel that their concerns are disregarded by established elite groups.
That's Trump to a T.
Right,
you
and that's
say?
a lot of people that
That is Trump to a T.
And the people that are going to vote for him are
He's a
those people.
populist. Yes, he
Yeah.
is. He's a populist.
A good word, Sam.
Yeah, he's a populist.
He's a
So,
populist.
yeah, but the Social Security, the way that would work is you would not pay taxes up to a certain income level. So let's say you're a guy who is getting a pension of $100,000 a year, but you're also collecting Social Security, you would still pay tax on your Social Security. But if you are a person who only has Social Security as an income, and let's say it's $25,000 a year, then you wouldn't pay. So it's thresholded, okay? It's not an elimination totally on your Social Security tax liability. That's how it would work. So, it's interesting, though, that Trump has proposed a number of things, one of which is what we're just talking about, the no tax on Social Security, but also no tax on tips. It seems like the Harris people have picked up on those themes, and they're saying the same thing, which I find to be very interesting.
Well,
So it seems like if you vote for either Trump or Harris, you won't have tax on your tips, right?
well, that's what they said.
Is
but
that the way I take it?
she also has picked up on other things that he has says and
Right.
modified it as
Which
they've
is
gone along.
very, very interesting that one candidate would adopt the position of another candidate.
Well, it's also interesting that you have Democratic senators up for re-election that are,
They've got Trump in their ads.
that's correct.
I mean, I've never seen anything like that in my life.
No. So they know where the power is, and the thing
Well-
is that if they want to get elected, whether they're liberal right or liberal left, it doesn't matter. They're using whatever it is that they can in order to get
Well,
reelected.
This is, to John's point earlier, and he's talked about the unenrolls.
The Americans.
the Americans. Well, of course, the
I'm going to do the
unenrolled,
questions in a second. I'm going to
the
shove that down
unenrolls outnumber
in your pipe.
the unenrolls, in Massachusetts, the unenrolls outnumber the Republicans and Democrats together by quite a margin.
The Americans
So,
have a far
Yeah,
superior.
but you have to realize they're all Americans,
Well, I hope
as
so.
far as where
Well, then
we're
get
at.
off- So,
But according to the current president of the United States, if you support Trump, you're garbage. And I listened to him say that, and they're trying to rework it
They
so that
can't
he doesn't
rework
say
it.
that.
They can't
I
rework
also
it.
want to state that I did listen to Harris's speech in
about
Washington
Puerto Rico
D.C.,
being a
and I
dump?
listened to the
Yeah, that was
different
dumb.
speakers that was.
Stupid.
no, she's on a roll. We have to wait
Go
till
ahead.
she's done.
It is stupid.
I listened to the
Someone
different
play.
speakers in New York for the Trump rally, and Glenn and I were listening to certain pieces about that, and you have candidates out there that are basically calling the supporters things that they shouldn't be because they still are Americans. So you have Harris basically saying that any of the supporters of Trump are fascists and they're Nazis. And if they really knew what that meant, and they're hoping that the American
She
people
knows-
are stupid
she knows what it
not
means.
to look it up and not to be aware of what it is that they're really saying, because they have accused
Evelyn, you're going way off the track here.
Well, I think so.
way
because-
off your track because you want to go someplace
Well, now
different.
look,
Okay, you guys are bitching and moaning about Biden said we're garbage. Okay, how about the garbage heap comment for Puerto Rico?
Plain-
What the
just-
hell's the matter with that?
You can't, look.
Trump says
But he
nothing
didn't say
about
that. But he said he didn't hire the.
I don't care. He
It
should-
doesn't matter. It was still a dumb, stupid move to have that guy at that rally.
Because that's what he does.
I don't
He makes
care.
fun of all the people.
I don't care. It was still stupid. It was dumb, okay?
Well,
It was
that
a
wasn't the only thing
dumb
that he said
move.
that was stupid.
It was a dumb move.
I
And
understand
for
it.
them,
It's almost like he was a plant.
for them not to.
That was not smart.
No, it was not smart. And for the Trump people not to understand that the other side wouldn't pick up on that and use it, that's just plain stupid. Although, so you sit there and you say, oh, well, that's bad, and then 2 days later, the President of the United States comes out and he calls Trump supporters garbage. That was stupid, okay? So we learned nothing from Hillary Clinton's deplorables remark, okay? It's the same thing. She,
Well,
Right, but if you go
I mean, it's
back, even
ridiculous.
Clinton called
What is
the
the
other
ma-
people names, and so
Yeah.
did
Hey,
Obama.
What is the matter
We're
with
going to move on to
people?
the questions in just a second.
What is
Well,
the
we haven't
matter
even
with
talked
people?
about this issue.
What is
I
the-
just brought
What
up.
is the matter with people? Why do they have to do that?
Politicians are still not used to. You're being recorded 24/7.
I think you're right. They don't get it.
And
But
they
what-
don't, and the people who work for them have to shove that into their nose you're being recorded when you go to the bathroom, okay?
Right, well, see,
You are being
one of the
recorded
things that
all
was.
the time.
One of the things that was interesting in terms of the Biden statement was, you have the White House in the background. Now, this was all supposed to be about January 6th and Trump's speech and everything. However,
It didn't work.
if you take
Work.
a look, because people are into vision. They're into
Vision.
what it is they can see, the picture.
There's another
okay?
political word.
There's another word for that. So anyway, they're not
Optics.
Yeah, the optical aspect of things. So if I see a picture, that creates more than if I hear something. It depends on your learning style, by the way. Some people can listen and understand things, but a picture, as they say, is worth 1,000 words. Well, in this case, if you take a picture of her with the White House behind her and the American flags and everything, psychologically or subconsciously, it's like, okay, I'm presidential material and I'm going to be president and all the other stuff that goes along with that. It isn't the January 6th thing, because a lot of people didn't even listen to Trump. That day, and most of the people that are having opinions about this election aren't even listening to the speeches that each candidate is saying.
From Evelyn's fan club.
John's son?
Why would
Oh.
Evelyn say she feels sorry for John's son because he is supporting Harris? That's the unhealthy rhetoric that divides us as people. This is from John Curtis, and he loves
to poke me.
Biden. No, he thinks Biden is wonderful and Kamala's wonderful. He sounds pretty bright to me. Thank you, John. I will pass that on to him. We will see you soon.
Well, John's son has every right to feel the way he does, and he
Yeah.
has every right to vote.
And I have every right to feel sorry for somebody
My son
else.
Jack is
Yes,
a
you
very
do.
deep thinker,
You do.
and he does his homework, and we have a lot of discussions, controversial discussions, and he's always got the facts to back it up.
How old is your son?
Like, he's born in 80, so whatever to the.
All right, so he was raised in a different era. He doesn't have the experiences that you had growing up, okay? So it doesn't surprise me that you might have a different
It
opinion.
also, again,
Right.
it depends on the mindset, not only just the culture and how you've been conditioned, but it depends on the mindset and the thought process. Because with my guys, we can have these discussions and there isn't much of a disagreement.
Hey, look, when Jay comes in, you guys are going to be doing school stuff, so we're going to do the questions.
You want to do questions? All right. Now, but before we do this, Matt, let me just say one thing.
Go right ahead.
I did this on my show a week ago, went through
Yeah.
the
Glenn.
questions with
Yeah.
Glenn. And somebody posted on Facebook that Glenn and I were a couple of condescending hacks.
True.
And
That's true.
Well, it may be true. Okay, and how it was the most insulting thing in the world because people are capable of reading the questions themselves, and who the hell did we think we were having to explain it to people? So I'm just.
Now, where were these
I'm just going to put that out there for
Sam,
you.
where were these caustic comments
Facebook.
made?
Facebook.
On Facebook.
Yeah.
We don't enjoy caustic comments like that. We have a Facebook. We put it out every
Okay.
morning. We don't get caustic comments
So,
like that.
but that's.
Is this your relative?
So that's my.
Children that are angry at you?
That's my disclaimer. So let's talk about the questions.
Okay.
Okay.
Yesterday, Cliff and I did a interview with Diane DeZoglio. Smart as a whip, very easy on the eyes. And the doggone Zoom thing was just not. The audio kept dropping out, and she kept trying and trying. She stuck with us for a half an hour trying to get the thing fixed. God
Good for
bless
her.
So, but we never got it fixed.
I think we should audit that.
We got a little bit of a blurb there, and so she's okay. But anyway, she convinced me I'm going to vote yes on this. But the state authority to audit the legislature.
That's a yes vote, as far
What
as
your
I'm concerned.
vote will do.
Yep.
A yes vote would specify the state auditor has authority to audit the legislature. A no vote says make no change.
Mm-hmm.
And Colleen Gary was here yesterday, and she's going to.
Vote
She
no.
voted no on this because
Because she's a legislator.
she gave a lot of reasons, but she thinks that Diana DeZoglio, my words, not hers, my takeaway from listening to Colleen Gary was that Diana DeZoglio has an axe to grind.
She may.
And that's what's happening. So, how you guys going to vote on this? Evelyn?
Oh, I voted yes.
So
I
you're
will,
gonna- Sam?
I will vote yes.
I'm going to vote yes, okay. So moving right along here. This is all the gobbledygook to talk about this. This is on the state's website. I'm sorry if this is making you spill your coffee.
This is the MCAS
This
question.
is all the stuff.
Yep.
Elimination of the MCAS. Now, this will be a good one for Jay. Wouldn't you, Jay Lang's due at 7?
We are going to talk about that.
Yes.
I told him we would.
You want to
we'll
defer,
wait
you
till
want to
Jay
defer,
comes?
you want to defer this until he gets
We'll
here?
wait till Jay comes.
All right.
Okay.
But Evelyn, you got to make sure it fits in.
Yeah.
Because you get on play and start talking about stuff.
No, I want to hear what the superintendent has to say about this.
So moving right along. Oh,
Number 3?
no, that's not the question. This is all the gobbledygook explaining stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Unionization of transportation of drivers. Now, what's the yes and no bit?
Keep going. It's long.
That's
Here
a
we
long one.
A yes vote would provide transportation network drivers, that means the Uber guys and
Yep.
gals,
Uber and Lyft.
the option to form unions to collectively bargain with transportation unions companies regarding wages, la la la. A no vote would make no change in the law relative to the ability of the transportation. I'm going to vote no on this.
I voted no.
I will vote no.
And my reasoning is, talking to the Uber people that I know, leave it alone.
Right, that's my experience too. They don't, the people I've talked to that would be directly impacted by this don't want it. So why would we?
And usually when
On
you-
to the next question.
Why would
Usually
we-
when you form a union, you gotta pay dues.
Why would we impose something on people that don't want it?
Well, unions, the flaw that the unions are making is they've forgotten about pushing excellence out the door, and it's all about, we're gonna get you more money.
And it's all about power and organization. That's what it's about.
And when they put excellence back into their argument, I'll be tended to go back with the unions, but the unions that I know of, it's all about, you're lucky you have a job, we're gonna get you a raise, and don't worry about excellence at all. That's the company's problem. Boy, oh boy, there's a lot of gobbledygook here.
This must be the,
Page 60,
that's the tipped
Yeah.
question.
it's coming. Holy muckmy, let me grab this guy over here. Oh, it disappeared. Yeah, no, it came back. Yeah, whoa, whoa, whoa.
All right, question 4. Oh, that's the drugs. Yeah, okay.
Psychedelics. Now, these psychedelic drugs, if they can get rid of, if you have agonizing pain, wherever the pain can be, and this is the only thing that will take it away, I'd vote yes. But let's see, a yes vote would allow persons over 21 to use certain natural psychedelic substances under licensed supervision to grow and possess limited quantities of substances,
More bureaucracy.
and that a no vote would make no change in the law regarding psychedelic substances. I say no, just, it's a way to get, for the government to make.
Have you voted yet? Have you voted yet?
I'm gonna vote on voting day.
Okay, all right.
Evelyn, what are your thoughts on it?
I voted no, because I didn't believe that you should make marijuana legal either, because
I like my marijuana.
I understand that, but
You tried one?
my approach was
Didn't
based.
hear an answer?
I'm not trying any of it. The information that I had in the early 90s, when I was on all the drug-free schools committees, and we wrote grants and all kinds of things at that point in time, then if you want to create a,
We got
Nation.
12 minutes, Ev.
I understand,
And
if you want to.
I gotta hear Sam's answer.
If you want to create a nation that is a little foggy on what their decision should be based upon their use, I'm not saying that everybody does it, but I'm just saying you just don't want to have more gateways to stronger drugs. And that's what they said in the early 90s,
Okay, Sam, how are
hasn't
you gonna
changed
vote on
any.
this?
No,
Okay, moving right along to the next thing here. Boy, oh boy, oh boy, I'm glad for bold print. Look at all this gobbledygook.
yeah, but it's good that they put this information out,
I
because
don't care.
people
but-
can't say that they don't have access to the information.
Here we are.
This is the wage thing.
Okay, when like Scott Plath, the owner of Moonstones and Cobblestones downtown Lowell, along with State Rep Rodney Elliott, had a display on Facebook I saw yesterday, and they're voting no on this. This is to tip the workers.
Elliot votes no on that?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
And what will your vote do? A yes vote would increase the minimum hourly wage of an employer must pay tipped worker to the full state minimum wage implemented over 5 years, which point employers could pool the tips and distribute them to non-management workers.
Which
A no
already-
vote.
That already happens.
A no vote would make no
Depends on the
change in the
business.
law governing tip pooling or minimum wage tipped workers. So Sam, start off the answering here, because I got a
Well,
quicker answer.
like your previous question where you talked to the people who would be affected, that's what I've done. And almost all of the wait staff and servers that I have talked to say they don't want this. So who am I to impose this on people who don't want it? So the answer is no. I'm going to vote no.
Evelyn?
I voted no. Part of it
I'm
is,
voting no too.
is that you have waiters and waitresses that are lousy, and if I want to give somebody a tip or not, I don't necessarily want to distribute it to everybody. They need to learn
Well,
consequences.
To your point, the way it is now, the tip situation encourages the server to John's point, to provide excellence, okay? So if you know that if you do a very, very extra special job, you have a very good chance of getting a nice fat tip,
Well,
that's
those are all
going to,
questions
that's
for
going to
John.
encourage you to do your service better, right?
I tip in cash. Every waitress it's okay to have a bad day. And a lot of times I'm
That's
out
true.
to dinner and the
We-
waitress is not, or the waiter is
We already
not what they could be. And,
We already addressed this. You want me to address it again?
nah, he sent another text to it, didn't copy over, I'll make it.
We always ask at the end, would you prefer to have your tip on the card, or would you prefer to have it in cash? And believe it or not, some of them say they don't really care one way or the other. And it's usually the credit card ones, they will also tell you that their tips are divided and distributed with the other employees, okay? So,
Well, I mean, the poor cook, what does the cook get?
I don't think the cook gets it. I think it's the
come
people
on,
that, with the runners, the people who bring the food to you, they're called runners, okay? And the bus people, I think they share, in many cases, they share in the tips as well.
Okay, John Curtis, he's got his druthers up. No, John, I don't love Biden or Harris. And I've stated many times, I do despise Trump for obvious reasons.
But won't be
What are
voting
they?
for, well, what's he gonna do?
He's not going to vote for them. He'll vote for
I don't
local.
know, I don't care.
There are
I
other-
like Trump, he's not changing my mind. Look at me.
There are other people on the
I mean,
ballot.
my own family, this is, my birthday gifts were loaded with Trump stuff, so I'm happy. Thank you. I'm voting for Trump, not changing my mind.
How does your wife feel? Well, who's she voting for?
She'd rather not say.
All right, well, that's fine.
As is my sister-in-law, I said, what are you girls gonna do?
That's
We
fine.
ain't gonna go there. We're not gonna talk about
No,
this.
good for
No,
them.
because never mind.
it
We're
is-
not going to
it
go
is-
there.
it is-
That's for sure.
It is a secret ballot, after all.
No,
And-
they're just sick of it. They're sick of.
Well, who
I mean,
isn't?
The poor governor campaign up in Cow Hampshire.
I'm sick of
Oh
it.
my God, it's terrible.
I'm sick of it. We're all sick of it.
Well, there's a lot of lies out there.
On both sides.
There's a lot of stuff. Well, when I listened to the last speech that Harris gave, there's been debunked hoaxes, and in her speech, she did put them in there as if they were fact, and so does the liberal media, like MSNBC, CBS, and, they're actually putting out all of the hoaxes. They're pulling every single thing that they can, whether it's
Did you
true
leave
or
the door
not.
open for Jay, or no?
Pardon?
You guys locked the door?
I didn't.
I didn't.
Okay, good.
The,
He's texting, Jay's running late, so I'm
Well,
gonna,
that's fine. But in listening to this, I couldn't keep up with the amount of things that was being stated after listening. Now, want people to know that I'm listening to the speeches on both sides, because, if I can. Some of it is really tough to get through
why?
with her.
Why are you doing that?
Because I want to hear it firsthand. I don't want
But
somebody's interpretation.
You've already made up your mind how you're gonna vote, so why are you bothering to
I
listen to
sit
the
here
speeches?
every week, and I want people to know that I don't listen to just one television station, okay? I don't want people to think that I'm only focused on one particular
All right,
side.
that's
I
fine.
want
Okay.
to see what everybody
All right,
says.
you give me an example where the right has lied or made a mistake. in
I'm
what
not
they-
saying that they didn't, because I don't, some of the stuff that
All
he
right.
says, it's like,
But
can we go beyond this?
The point, what you just said, my point is that the perception that the audience may have is that, you have a particular political slant, and that's fine, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're really objective, you're going to pick on the other side, and you're going to find holes in their argument too, which is what I try to do. Because I find a lot of holes in the Trump side, believe me, a lot of holes, okay? And, this is why I say, I can't even, I can barely look at either of the candidates.
Well, I can say
barely
that
look at them. That's how I feel.
I do not like I do not like it when
Yeah.
Trump does name-calling and makes derogatory comments about people. I really don't like that at all. However, the policies that he has, at least I kind of have an idea of what he's doing.
Again, you look below the candidates and you see what the thrust and the philosophies of their campaign are, and you vote on, do you agree with their policies or don't you agree with their policies? You got to get beyond the two, because we've got two, in my opinion, just my opinion, we've got two highly, highly flawed candidates at the head of the ticket, and it's a shame when we look and see who could have been the nominees in both parties.
Yeah, but Trump, as you say, is a populist situation. Trump is really, he's out there with an awful lot of people. It'll be interesting to see how this all goes at the end of it.
You got predictions? I'd like,
I don't like making predictions.
Make predictions.
Trump's going to win.
All right, I disagree with you.
And I'm going to say why I'm not overly thrilled about that. There was some articles, and I think I sent them to you. I do have 2 minutes.
How many points do you think he's going to win by?
A landslide.
You do, like 5 or 6 points, maybe?
He's going to
You
landslide.
think so? Okay.
The Americans are, the Americans have, yesterday, I'm looking for pictures from California, from Ohio.
Well, if he carries
The
California,
line to
I will be
early
shocked.
vote is amazing.
Yes, but we don't know how
There's
many.
a line to early vote.
We don't know if the number of people that are voting early are going in one direction
Well,
or another.
what they're doing
or
is they're
they're the ones that
counting, yeah.
normally would vote on
They
Tuesday.
weren't dressed as clowns or crazy
No,
people
but they're
either.
counting registrations. So what-
Americans are voting.
Right, but counting registrations, they're saying the number of people who are registered as Republicans are voting early. But to John's point, most voters are not registered in either party. So it's going to be the unregistered or undeclared
And the
voters.
news media outlets don't have the staff
Right.
for exit polling.
But the exit polls are never right. They're always wrong. Because people lie, all right? And if I were polled, and it did happen to me one time, I was exit polled, and they said, who'd you vote for? And I says, none of your damn business. It's a secret ballot. And I walked off, okay? I'm not telling people how I voted at the polls.
No, I'm not telling people either.
You know-
Well, wait till
Most people
Judgment
know.
Day. Sam, what did you do? It's none of your damn business.
Well, that's
It
a little
isn't.
different.
It isn't their business. It's a secret ballot.
It's their job to ask the question.
That's fine.
And you gave them a rude answer.
I certainly
Anyway,
did.
there's different
I'm
articles
proud of it.
that's out there, and it was very difficult to find, to actually access liberal media because you have to subscribe to all of it. But the Harris campaign has given millions of dollars to black civil rights groups last month, and what those groups are going to try to do is get the black vote out. And the question is, how are they going to do that? So her committee has given $3.75 million to black civil rights and religious groups based nationally in key swing states. There was no similar funding for groups from other communities.
I think John thinks that Trump's going to win in a landslide. I think Harris wins because I think the women are going to put her over the top. That's my opinion.
Well, I think there's more going on
And
as far as
I'm
ballot
stick-
harvesting goes.
I'm sticking to that. The women are going to
I'm
put
into
her
the
over the top.
conspiracy theories.
I know you are, and I can't believe it, but you are.
Well, I can see how you can do it. That's the problem.
People aren't smart enough to pull off conspiracies, and the fact that our election machinery is so decentralized, you almost can't have a national conspiracy because there are too many individual local situations that are in charge of the elections.
I'm not saying that it's on a national level. I'm saying that it's on a state level, and you have to meet it where you can.
Still unlikely, in my opinion.
I'm just saying that she has donated money to different groups in order for them to try to get out the vote. I don't know that there's any problem
So-
with that because it's not illegal.
Massachusetts, I predict a 38% vote for Trump and 62% for Harris. That's my prediction for the state.
So we're at 7 o'clock. I don't know where John went, but I guess we're going to transition into city life, and maybe we'll take a break when he comes back into the room.
We have Dr. Jay Lang, who is the superintendent of schools in Chelmsford, who also worked for 15 years as an assistant superintendent in Lowell, and came to Chelmsford at a very, very critical moment in our history of managing school operations, and he has done very, very well.
Excuse me.
Is the superintendent here?
Not yet.
Okay.
Just double checking the door, and we're gonna go to break.
Yep, we'll go to break. We'll see you shortly.
Your mic's off.
So what? They're on.
Welcome back to City Life. I'm Evelyn Thoren. I am your host for under an hour.
Are you a host or a hostess?
I don't know.
Host.
Host
That's
fits
what it
better.
says, host.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you're my co-host.
Okay.
Not like a Holy Communion host, just a
Oh,
regular.
the host, yes.
And Bob Hoey isn't with us this morning. He has some family commitments. We're expecting the superintendent of schools in Chelmsford, Dr. Jay Lang, to discuss some
When he
things.
gets here, we'll take another break.
Yeah, we'll take another break when he gets here, and,
Is there enough coffee left for him? Yes.
well, that's if
Okay.
he wants coffee. We never know. I don't think he does.
I don't think he does drink coffee, right.
So, anyway, and I also had brought, because I am a lifetime member of the Mass Association of School Committees,
Does that cost you anything?
no,
Okay.
no.
They love
In
Evelyn.
fact-
They love Evelyn down
In
there.
fact, if I go to their conference, all those fees
Are
are waived.
Oh, good.
I don't go.
As a former member of the school committee, you are able to belong to this, right?
Hey, a little bragging time. Look
Okay.
at the Lowell's new street sweeper. These freaking machines are amazing.
They are. We have one in Chelmsford.
Look at all the leaves. Look at all the leaves. And he's just sucking all that right up.
Now, are you allowed to push the leaves onto the street in Lowell from your property? Can you do that?
You can do anything you want in Lowell. Nobody gets in trouble.
Oh, okay. Just checking.
You can put them in your recycling if you want to. We don't
All right.
care. Look at it, Meg. That machine is fantastic. Probably cost us $1 bazillion.
Oh, yeah. Does the job, though, right?
Beautiful. Look at that. One sweep. All those leaves gone. Nice job. Back over to you guys.
No, we don't have one that big in town.
So, the reason that I'm a lifetime member is because I sat on the Mass Association of School Committees Board of Directors for 7 years. And then they nominated and elected me to be a lifetime member.
So a lifetime member, no membership fees, you go to the conferences, and they don't charge you
Right.
anything.
And I can
Hey,
go
what
to
do
any
you
of their
guys think
meetings.
of free buses?
Of what?
The buses are going to be free.
Which
Hey,
buses?
they gotta do something to
The
spend the money.
LRTA.
Oh, they are?
They gotta spend the money somehow.
You mean forever? They're going to be
So much
free?
for this
Well, they're going to
conversation.
do temporary, see if it brings ridership up. But, hey, free bus is good.
Yeah, but how are they gonna get revenue if buses are free?
What's the source
Well,
of
the government has
funding?
no trouble getting revenue.
Yeah, taxes.
Oh, so in other words, they're not free.
Oh, the bus drivers are, no, the buses
They
don't
like
come
to
for
use
free.
the terms, however,
No
they really
charge for
should say
riders.
there's no charge to ride the bus.
That's right. There is no
Because
charge to
they're
the.
not free.
They're not
Somebody
free.
has to pay
Somebody
for it.
has to pay for it, right,
And
exactly.
usually it's through your tax dollars. And they're trying to figure out how to get around some of the wording when they had the millionaire's tax, because it was a,
They have the millionaire's tax.
I know, but I think they're trying to figure out how to spend it on other things. And they're trying to redefine some of those terms.
Are you shocked?
No,
Okay.
because if they have money, they have to spend
Why don't
it.
they lower the tax for us? For the regular people? The
What?
government just gobbles the money up, never gives it back.
Well,
We have a surplus, so we're gonna buy
Well, you
firecrackers.
better hope that we never enact a graduated income tax in this state. We have a flat tax, and that benefits the taxpayer. So you better hope that they never go to a graduated tax.
anyway, that being stated, what I
Yeah.
was trying to say was, I get a publication from the Mass Association of School Committees. There's some things that's in here that when Jay does arrive, we have some questions as far as what is going to be going on specifically with Chelmsford, and whether or not he knows anything about other particular
He's going
issues.
right by the house, look at this guy.
Oh, I thought you
Look
meant.
at the speed
I
he's
thought she
going.
meant Jay.
I thought he meant
What a
Jay.
machine.
Well, maybe Jay's driving the machine.
No,
That's a nice one.
magnificent machine. I think I get one.
Who
more.
drives it? You know the guy who drives the machine?
No.
There's Jay.
There he is.
He's got to be up, that's Jay coming in the wrong driveway. I'll have to give him a ticket.
That's the wrong drive. Yeah, why is he? Are you
Well,
sure?
anyway,
Maybe it isn't
Hey,
Jay.
it's effective.
It is. Anyway, so we're just waiting on Jay, and we'll talk about education, and maybe there's some other things that we can talk about, because we do have building projects that's out there. One of the questions that is on the ballot for Chelmsford, the last question deals with the fire stations.
Number 6.
And we would, many of us would like the electorate to vote yes, because there's a lot of health issues with regard to what's going on in Engine 5 and 3 towards our firefighters. We want to keep them healthy. There's very little
Okay,
ways in
where's
which to
engine
clean
5 and
things.
3, because we don't know what you're talking about, Evelyn.
No, but we're in Chelmsford, and
I know
in
what-
Chelmsford, on the ballot, there's an extra question. As a debt exemption, it is not a override of
You guys have a
Proposition
nice
2.5.
firehouse, but I'll tell you who smokes you. Tewksbury's firehouse smokes you guys.
Well, you got to have people vote for stuff. And when you were talking about saving money or reducing the tax rate, when you have surplus money in Chelmsford, it goes into the rainy day fund, stabilization fund. There's interest rates that are higher than what we normally get because of the amount that's in there, so it's making money. And the reason it's called the rainy day fund is because, very
Stabilization.
simply, the stabilization fund is if we have some major issues and don't have the funds to do it, we can withdraw from that. That's the
Morning, Jay.
savings account. that's in-
Requires a 2/3 vote.
Yes, town
Whereas-
meeting.
Whereas if you kept the surplus in
You want
free
coffee or
cash, it would only be a majority vote.
Well, we also had town meeting
Coffee's
last
there if
week.
you
There's
like.
a whole lot of things that happened there.
Okay,
And
just go right over there.
so Jay is with us, and he's going to join us.
You guys can do musical chairs, I'm gonna read this text.
I'm going to move.
So,
You're going to sit here.
Jay will sit in the middle.
All right.
So you
get the seat- you
get the seat of honor, I
Oh, thank you.
so reading this text, the reason the race is even this close is because of Trump's mouth. He can't get out of his own way. She's terrible. She is a terrible, terrible candidate with no clear-cut policy on anything. Lots of word salad and platitudes.
Can't disagree with that.
She is just as bad or even worse than Bob Dole or Walter Mondale.
Hey, wait a minute, I liked Bob Dole.
Well, he liked you too, because you like those pineapples.
I liked
Moving right
Bob.
along here, it
Yep.
says, anything you want in a law, great slogan. Yep, that's true. And I gotta change camera angles here.
All right,
And I gotta make a wider shot. I will make this happen.
good,
That's the wrong
Good
one.
morning,
Okay.
how are you guys?
good, how are you?
We're doing pretty good,
Good.
so until he gets the right shot on the air, at least you can still hear us, because I don't think he shut our
There you
mics
go.
off.
No, I apologize for being a few minutes late.
Oh, don't worry about
All
it.
right.
We have, oh,
We
there's
saw
a
you-
shot.
We saw you come in.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, because he was-
had it on his
TV?
camera.
He was watching me? All right.
Yeah, we still have
It's all right.
Oh, that's the wrong driveway to come in?
Yeah, you come in the other side.
I
So,
don't
and
know,
the only
you're
reason.
here, it doesn't make any difference.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that do that, they come in that side because that's what
Yeah.
they fit, because he doesn't have a one-way do not enter sign out there. But the way
There you
that,
go.
when he does the funerals, you come in one side and then you go out
Okay.
the other side.
We have that problem with our school teachers too. They like to go out the wrong way. And
Well.
as long as we don't have anything going, it's.
You had to get that in there.
Oh, yeah.
Who cares? Turn the page.
Anyway, welcome, Jay.
Well, thank you for having me again. Again, I apologize for being a few minutes late, but hope everyone is well this morning, and the first half of the show went well.
Politics, different things.
Oh, yeah.
It's just
We got a
lovely.
burning question for you, Jay.
Oh, boy.
Well, we may have more than one.
We waited on one of the state questions for Jay, and you want
Yes.
to present that to Jay now?
Go
If you
ahead.
would, since you would like, you brought it up, of course. So one of the questions that's on the ballot, the
Oh.
Massachusetts state ballot, is about MCAS. And there's a lot of information that's out there. And so we wanted to get your take on that. We know what the yes vote means, we know what a no vote means. Perchance, and then in your comments, if they vote to get rid of it, then what kind of measurements and solutions do we have in order to know what the students are doing?
Well, you know, I don't like to disappoint you very early on the first question you might ask me of the day, but in my position, I actually can't make as superintendent, I can't make a public position or expose a public position on a ballot question. It's just
Good
prohibited.
point. Yep.
So I can't. I can tell you, I can just answer general questions, but I can't really kind of make a position one way or the other.
Well, Liam Skinner did.
Well, I'm not gonna.
Liam
so-
said he wants to keep the MCAS test.
Yeah, well, I can, so what'll happen is if the measure doesn't pass, then obviously the MCAS test would remain a graduation requirement. What's really on the ballot is whether the MCAS test will remain one of the requirements to be able to receive a high school diploma. The MCAS test, either way, whether it passes or it fails, is going to remain because federally you have to have some type of a standardized assessment to measure children. It is tied to funding, so that's obviously a concern for some individuals with regard to if the test were to go away, what would potentially happen to test scores if kids didn't take it as seriously. And again, it's tied to funding, so there are a number of different dynamics. But I think either way, the test is remaining. It's just whether it actually counts to be a graduation requirement or not.
I'm glad you said that, because in talking to people, that's not generally understood. I think the people I've talked to think that if they vote to eliminate,
It
if
goes
they vote
away.
yes, that the test itself goes away. So I'm glad you clarified that.
Right. No, and I think unfortunately on all different ballot questions and things, there's a lot of, either misinformation or just not all the information to really kind of make a decision one way or the other. But no, on that particular question, for years, people have been talking about potentially like revamping the MCAS or coming up with a different assessment. The value of the tests compared to some of the different tests school districts already administer. We use a program in our district where we actually have little check-in assessments 3 times a year to progress monitor our students and then make adjustments as we need. One of the critiques of the MCAS is you take it in the spring and you don't get your results until the fall, and the kids have already moved on to the next grade level and a next teacher. So it gives you a sense of what actually happened over the course of the last year. But for that particular group of kids, it's now the new teacher who's adjusting to what they know or might need to make up a little of. It's not giving you real-time data and real-time information. But no, MCAS is not going away regardless of what happens with the question. It's really just whether it counts to be a graduation requirement.
And I think that's an excellent point. I know you can't discuss it in depth because of the disclaimer. I understand that completely. But as you know, my wife was a teacher in the system for 39 years. And as with the Uber question and the tips and so forth, I figure ask the people who are close to it. So I asked her how she felt about this. And she said that from her perspective as a teacher, especially she taught 5th grade elementary, she said one of the problems with the MCAS itself is that, especially in the lower grades, she said the teacher spends almost more time teaching the kids how to take the test as opposed to actually imparting the basic knowledge that you need to take the test. So, so the way she explained it to me was it's sort of like a logistics thing. You have to divine how to answer the questions, is what she was trying to say. So I hadn't heard that before, but I trust her judgment because she had to do
Yeah.
it for a number of years. And she said that was what, in her opinion, most teachers objected to about the MCAS itself. However, as you just heard the superintendent say, even if you vote yes on this question, the test remains. The only thing that happens is they're not going to use that as the gate to getting a high school diploma.
Correct.
Yeah, so
It
I
won't
think
be a requirement.
that's, and again, I don't think many people.
I don't think people
I
understood
don't think
it.
people understand that, so I'm glad you said that. That's excellent point.
The, obviously, there have been different iterations of the test and things like that too. And, my perspective just in general, I, don't want to teach to a test, whether it's MCAS or any other test. In my opinion, we don't put a big focus on MCAS as a test in the school system. It's a test that the kids will take in the springtime. But if our curriculum is all aligned with state standards, and the state basically tells you what you should be teaching in different areas, our teaching aligns to that, our kids will generally do well on the end assessment. I have never put, whether in Chelmsford or in Lowell, a big emphasis on kind of teaching for the test or prepping for the test. As you suggested, as you're teaching and you're imparting knowledge on the students, that will come out on whatever type of assessment they end up taking in the end.
Yes, I hope so, yes.
And I think that's a better measure of if we're actually trying to get the information we want communicated across than actually kind of teaching to a particular test. So that really hasn't ever been a focus of mine or in the work in Chelmsford or Lowell.
Before we get too far down the road, I got two texts and I'm going to ask Jay a question. This had nothing to do with Jay. Did Evelyn notice the homeless person camped out in front of Paramount Plaza? Get ready. They're heading your way in Chelmsford.
Is this a threat?
We have many homeless
And the
people
answer
in
is,
Chelmsford.
yeah, I noticed the person there. That person has been there a long time.
Yes, they have. Moving right along, John, I'm always cutting off Evelyn. Yep, it's a hobby. No homemade baked goods. Yeah, we have homemade baked goods.
Not today.
So Jay, my
Oh,
question
did you
for
bring something in?
is- I got my Halloween hat
Okay.
on. That's why I got this hat on today.
Nice hairdo.
Personal finance. To teach personal finance, there's a guy by the name of Bill Johnson. He's a UMass Lowell professor. And we've been chit-chatting about teaching personal finance. And it is a learnable skill. And the rest of America, we learned the hard way how to handle our money. What would it take to put personal finance in the curriculum of many grades in Chelmsford? And my pushback is, we don't have room to teach that. And you're the big cheese out there. How would you put personal finance as a course that you teach in many of the grades in Chelmsford? Is there room for it? Could you make room for it? What are your thoughts? And I know it's like a pie-in-the-face question. You didn't expect this, but
Yeah, no, that's fine. We have personal finance classes at the high school level.
High school, right.
So our kids in grades 9 to 12 can take, it's called financial planning, but they can take personal finance type courses.
But I'm talking that every kid gets it, and it's not an elective, like history or whatever, every kid gets it.
It's a requirement, is what
Yeah.
you're saying, right?
Well, it'd be a town or city requirement, yeah. And if you can't, just a conversation.
Yeah, I don't know that it would ever necessarily be like a required course, like taking, say, 4 years of English, or, you have to take multiple years of, say, a world language or something like that. I have to say, and I actually, ironically, when I first started teaching at Chelmsford High School, that was one of the courses I taught in the department. It was an elective, it's still an elective today. But typically, kids, when they're juniors and seniors, will rotate through that as one of their business classes, because you do have to take so many credits in the business world. We offer like accounting classes and things like that as well.
I did not know that. That certainly wasn't true when I was in high school. I think that's great.
Yeah, no, you have to take so many credits, and I forget the exact title, but there's so many credits you have to take in the area of, say, like business. But there are different courses that will cover that credit.
Oh, that's
In the
great.
elementary and the middle schools, we don't have financial planning courses, but we do partner with local banks. Our local banks have different programs where they'll actually come out into the schools and do kind of money sense talks with kids around, savings and, what are the implications of a credit card and actually, charging on a credit card? How do the interest rates vary? When you're looking to buy a house, what kind of money do you potentially have to have saved up? How does that work?
So the course that you taught, what
Yeah.
did the children learn from your course?
It was a lot of practical financial skills from, we did basic things like, you need to buy a new car. Does it make sense to buy a car? Does it make sense to lease a car? If you're going to lease a car, let's take a look at different lease deals to figure out what you're actually paying in the end. The differences between, say, upfront costs you're going to spread out over a term. We talked about the stock market a little bit and investing. We talked about personal finances as far as, checking accounts, savings accounts, buying a house,
Great.
Renting a house, financing in general, different things along those lines. Now, that was 30 years ago.
I was going to say, this is a while
But I
ago.
mean, that course actually, was happening at the high school 30 years ago because I personally taught it. And I know it's still happening at the high school today.
Well, I haven't done a big study on it, but I suspect there are more bankruptcies now than ever because banks give a credit card to these kids as soon as they get into college. And it's just so easy to just, I'm gonna buy a big screen TV. I'm gonna buy myself a new laptop, and I want one of those new iPhones. And you just give them that credit card, and they say, "Oh, just pay the minimum. Just give us $100, and we're happy." And by the time they get married, I talked to one young woman last week. She owes $120,000 in credit card debt, and she's in her 20s. I guess she
Yeah.
didn't take any.
She didn't take the
personal
course.
finance classes.
I don't think
take
she
the
was in my
course.
course.
I think it's more than just teaching a course. It also is the influence that your parents have on understanding what finances are and how to save, and that's where I learned it. I certainly didn't learn it in school. But there are things that you can weave into any arithmetic or mathematics courses that would be helpful as examples, because you got to learn the math. And so, you do percentages, and that way you can see what mortgage rates are, and, if your parents have this, and this is, and then you see how much you actually pay for stuff. And, I mean, there's a lot of basic math that goes into just dealing with the examples of personal finance. So there may be different things that you, if you could implement it, but it wouldn't be a specific course. It would be something that was blended into whatever you were teaching. It's kind of like when one of my kids was in fifth grade and didn't want to do certain writing assignments because the topics were boring. But the teacher recognized that, found something that he was interested in, and he was happy to do research and write out papers and do presentations because he was interested in the subject, because the teacher knew, I can't do it on this side, I'll do it on this side. But he learned how to write. And so there's a lot, there should be a lot of flexibility within what teachers do or don't do based upon what the students' personal issues may be with trying to achieve what the goal is for the end of the year. And that is something that is also a possibility. And I think my youngest son took your finance course.
You may have.
Yeah. And that was a long time ago, because he's 43.
And that's why he's so successful today, folks, because he took Jay's course.
No, it is, but I do think most high schools have some level of, like an optional type course.
That's great.
But, no, it definitely starts, the younger you can start, I think, the better. Just to expose kids to those different financial decisions that they're going to have to make. You'd hope that they'd be able to get it
Right.
from home, but if they can't, then it's certainly valuable.
Question from the audience: when do you start teaching American history?
I mean, right out in elementary school, there are sections, and we
Yes.
don't have, it's not called American history, but, we teach social studies, right, starting in, first grade, right up through grade 12. Obviously, when you get into middle school and you get into the high school, there are specific courses on American history that students take. But right in elementary school, kindergarten, grade 1, where four primary subjects, math, science, social studies, and English or literacy are instructed. So it's weaved throughout the curriculum, beginning really at the elementary levels.
I can tell you that last week I spoke to a third grade class at the Byam School, because in the third grade in Chelmsford, they study town history.
Yeah, there's a town history
And
component.
I've done this for the last 4 years. I've gone and spoken to the third grade. And I think last year, the town manager picked up on it, and several of the town employees, department heads, also, I know Regina Jackson, who's our veterans agent, she went and spoke to the school, and I know Paul Cohen, the town manager, did. So we know that they study Chelmsford history in the third grade, and I asked the students, we went through the org chart, and they were very knowledgeable. I was quite surprised. They all knew who the town manager was, they knew who you were, and so on and so forth. So
Because I call snow days.
there you go. Oh, yeah, you're a very popular guy. So I said, how much money do you think the town manager makes annually? What do you think his annual salary is? And one kid pipes up, $1 million. So, of course, I couldn't wait to tell
No, I'm sure
Paul
Paul is very excited about
that the
that.
kids all think you should make $1 million a year.
Sam, you want to read
yes.
this?
Ever notice there's only one commercial on TV to save, which is Feed the Pig? I have no idea what that means.
I do.
But a ton of commercial to buy stuff. Maybe kids should be told there's no money tree in the backyard, like our folks told us.
Thank you.
I don't understand any of
I'll
that.
explain later.
Just to touch base on the third grade kind of speaking engagement that you had done, civics in general has become a real big push into our curriculum. And I
Great.
know Chelmsford specifically does, and I know Lowell does this as well for theirs, but kind of local civics and trying to tie things to local government. We have like community read-ins throughout the year where we invite actually different department heads and people who work for the town government to come and read to the kids and actually talk a little bit about what they do. We have job shadow days, again, when the kids get to be a little bit older in the high school, to come out into the different town departments to figure out if there may be career options people would like to look into. But no, there has been a major push on civics and really not only American history or U.S. history, but incorporating local kind of government into the curriculum.
And I remember, as John would say, back in the dark ages, I was in high school in the early
Wait a minute,
19,
she's
yep,
saying-
in the early
Wait,
1960s.
hold on.
Yep, go ahead.
What do we got here, Em?
Well, it's not really breakfast food. It's a brownie, but it's a walnut toffee on the top of it.
There you go.
It'll be gone. Thank you.
They are good.
When I was in high school, it was a state law, I believe. We had to take 1 year of American history. Is that still a requirement at the high school level?
For the kids, for us, yes, U.S. history?
Yes,
Yes,
correct.
U.S. history.
1 year. Okay, that's what we had to do.
Yeah, I think when I went, it was American history. But we also were required to have a term paper. So the school I went to, we had to, senior year, we had two major term papers. One was in history, and one was in science. And then we also had a science fair, and that was part of what that term paper was, because we had,
Like a thesis?
I don't know, you have to realize how many years back I'm going. I'm going back, what, 55 years, 54 years?
Sure.
So I mean, remember the history paper, because I still have the history
Okay.
paper.
Why am I not surprised?
And I went and got on eBay and bought a lot of the books that I used from I didn't buy the books from the Thomas Crane Public Library in Quincy, but the books were on eBay because of the sources, because they were printed in the late 1800s.
Okay.
And so I have the volumes, except for one book that was pricey, and the other books I was able to get, so that I would always have those books to support what I wrote for U.S. history. I didn't really want to go down that rabbit hole. I wanted to ask the question
do
whether,
for now
what
with
do you do? And part of the grade that you got on the history paper was English.
Okay.
So it was interdisciplinary. This was a long time ago. So,
Right.
and then as far as the science one goes, there was a term paper, well, because we had a lot of term papers, but I mean, it was a competition in those two papers that senior year. And in the science one, you also had a science fair. And that was with all the other kids and everything,
Sure.
but the seniors are counted differently towards your grade
Okay.
at that time. So I know that there's papers that everybody writes, but is there anything that's on that level in the
I
Chelmsford
don't know
schools?
that there's anything that's kind of coordinated interdisciplinary across that many courses. Each individual course certainly has requirements and papers and things like that. I know that like when you get to be juniors and seniors in high school, like we do have, say, like science competitions or like a science fair, you may have to write something specific for that, but I don't know that it would necessarily be across the board. All kids at the high school would be required to do that unless you were participating. We have started to add some courses at the high school level, a little bit interdisciplinary, because we have some English and some social studies teachers who actually instruct them around kind of writing the more traditional, kind of like a thesis type paper or a study that actually has kind of a brief, like a lit review, a problem, a practice that they're presenting, the research that the student has done on that, and then actually like a defense almost like a little mini dissertation. And we have multiple students and classes at the high school, again, primarily junior and senior year, for students who really want to kind of get geared up for college if they're going to have to write to that particular level. And again, that is a little bit between English and social studies. You don't have to take the 2-year course, but you take a section of it as a junior and then you do a follow-up. It's kind of like a thesis type class you would take as a senior. And one of the 2 years, I just forget which, but one of the 2 years is instructed by an English teacher and the other is instructed by one of the history teachers. And there's a lot of students that actually, they do very well because they'll invite panels to come in when they do presentations. And I'll go in each year to certain classes and actually hear the students kind of present and defend their project, but starts out as a junior and then kind of completes as a senior year. And it's phenomenal, the level of detail that the students put in, the amount of thinking that goes behind it. We do have that at the high school level.
It's, you said something and a little bit off topic. I just want to make an observation. When I was in school back in the last century, in the dark ages, and I'll pick high school, all of the teachers, regardless of what their subject area was, they all corrected your English. So if I wrote a science paper, the science teacher would take off points for my spelling, okay? And my perception is they don't do that today. The thought seems to be, well, we're more interested that the child expresses himself, and we don't want them to be inhibited by putting these grammar strictures in there. So is that true? Is that false? I mean, personally, I think the science teacher ought to correct your spelling. That's old school, but I'll let you comment on that.
No, I think you're going to see a different level of attention based on who the teacher is and maybe like what's something that they're really looking for the students to do. A lot of the, I think, like kind of grammar and the sentence structure and things like that would be more the traditional English teachers if they're working along those lines. The other thing that's different these days, most of our assignments are done electronically, and with spell checking, the computers kind of spell checking for them. We've seen, or I'll just say personally, sometimes when I'm reading student work, it's not the word being misspelled because the computer can help the student spell the word. It's maybe the word use, or even just like how it's used in a sentence or the sentence of the.
I think we all have gotten caught up in spell check. Where it puts a word in that we don't want because it sounds like it, or however that works. I don't even know how it works.
But so I think that certainly is a focus, particularly for our English teachers, as the kids are moving up from elementary to middle to high school, to really make them be effective writers when they get to the high school and beyond.
When I taught high school chemistry, I had a student.
Did you correct their spelling?
Yes.
Okay.
I had a student. Why would that be? Not expected. I had a student who had a photographic memory, and he was able to. I mean, he aced everything. However, I set a different standard because I said, if you want to be perfect, you have to be perfect in everything. And he didn't like it. But, and I don't know if he ever remembers even to today. I mean, his father was worth a lot of money. But he was going to be a lawyer. And I'm thinking, if you're going to be a lawyer, you got to know how to spell, you got to know sentence structure, you got to be writing briefs, and he thought, the kid was only 15. I mean, it was like, but very mature for that age level. But yes, I did that. And if it was a messy paper, I started by saying, if you have a messy paper, you're getting a point off. You got to learn how to think ahead of time and not start crossing everything off. And I also did not teach to the answer. I taught to the process. So that way.
But that's chemistry. I mean.
No, I understand,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying that it was better to do that than to have the wrong answer, but made a math
To show
error
your
somewhere.
work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I said, you gotta show every single step, because you'll get credit for all of that. If you get the wrong math, I'm not overly worried about that, as long as whatever your units are correct, and however you do
No,
your
that's how,
process.
but that's how they teach math today, and which is why it's so difficult for parents or grandparents my age to help their elementary students.
Evelyn, you
We
take
can
this
get the
one.
right answer, but we don't know how to get there, right?
They go about it a completely different way.
Right, right.
How is the MBTA mandate going to affect the schools,
In Chelmsford?
anywhere?
Well, in
But it
Chelmsford.
would be in Chelmsford because he's the superintendent.
Yeah, but it won't really. Well, I'll let Jay answer that
The
question.
MBTA, is that the housing?
Yes.
Correct.
The zoning thing?
Yeah.
I mean, as it stands right now, it's not going to affect us in Chelmsford. I think the town did comply with the legislation that they were required to. And the town, through the planning board, identified a couple of areas where it would be zoned for the MBTA housing. However, the likelihood of actually constructing anything new that's going to have an impact on the schools is very minimal at this point. One of the developments was actually already being developed, the
Correct.
West Campus.
And even the developments that follow that line, the people who oppose them, they generally vastly overestimate the number of kids that are going to be living there. I mean, that's been the history. You don't get the onslaught or the influx of children from those projects that people think are going to come. That's been our history in Chelmsford.
We're hoping it stays
Yeah,
that.
well,
it stays that way.
it could change, I understand that, but that has been the history.
Right.
Well, jumping off on that particular question, we have a new legislation because you've got the auxiliary structures, that every
Oh, the accessible
potentially.
housing units or dwelling units?
Yeah, the
Oh, the
dwellings.
ADUs, yeah.
Yeah, and so you have a potential that every single family home could double if they have the right setbacks and all of the other stuff, according to planning board. Do you see, or have you seen anything on how that might impact enrollment?
No, it's, I think it's so new that it'll take a little time to
Right.
kind of spill out to figure out what the effect could be. I mean, there are a lot of properties in Chelmsford, single-family homes sitting on good lots where I could potentially see, just because the cost of housing is so expensive these days, and I think younger kids coming out of families are having a more difficult time kind of getting that first home, I could see potential parents, maybe moving into constructing themselves some kind of a unit in the back and moving in and the kids taking over the house, or, constructing something for kids in the back that maybe becomes like short-term until they can get permanent housing. It's something we're certainly going to have to now put in the mix because we've never had to do that before, just when we're doing our projections, but it's so early, I don't know how to,
I can
go about
give,
doing that.
I'll give you a little bit of insight into that, and this is just speculative. But a lot of Chelmsford is already zoned two-family. Okay, so where I live in the center. My whole neighborhood and Warren Avenue and Turnpike Avenue, that whole section is zoned two-family. So as a matter of right, everybody who lives in that area has already had the ability.
Oh.
And if you look at the number of two-family situations, very small, very small.
No, that's good
So
to know.
I don't know if that's a predictor of
Right.
what we can expect from the ADU. But if we already have a lot of real estate where you can already do that as a matter of right, but 95% of the RC zone, which it was two-family, is single-family homes.
Okay.
And we haven't seen that. So I don't know if that means anything, so I'll just throw that
No,
out
that's
there.
good to know, though.
Yeah, I'll just throw that out there. Yeah.
So we have, I end up getting this Mass Association of School Committee Bulletin. What was interesting is that on the front page, it says best practices for school finance. And the
Okay.
first one is the superintendent.
Okay.
You should read it. It all begins with the superintendent, and it talks about
Oh,
the
is that
relation.
in the MASC newsletter?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
What do they say?
And it says that it talks about oversight of the district's finances. That's why we hired you.
Right.
Among other reasons.
I
but
think
primarily
Jay
it
gets
was
an
that.
A in that category.
Oh, absolutely. And then it talks about the relationship that you would have on the municipal side, and you do that well also. So that's the first one. Then there's other ones that's in there, and all the different things about school finance, which I thought was interesting. But also on the state level, they're warily looking at how the foundation budget will be and all the different
Right.
finances are. And as town meeting reps, we've basically been told that there may be layoffs, there may be tightening of budgets, there may be a variety of things. Do you have any news on that or insight or anything potentially coming down the pike?
While Jay's processing that question,
Oh, here we
Evelyn's
go.
favorite part of the show, announcement time.
I was hoping we were going to get by that.
No, never happened.
So tomorrow, City Life, Cliff Krieger's going to be the host. Lowell School Committee woman Eileen Del Rossi. We expect
I'm
to see
gonna
her
ask you
tomorrow.
this
Then
one.
Regional School Committee guys, Fred Bahu and Ralph Hogan, they'll be here at 7 tomorrow. That's tomorrow's City Life. Okay, so if you're 60 years or older and you're hungry today, we got a feed bag in lovely Lowell, Massachusetts. In lovely Lowell, Massachusetts, we serve at the senior center
Turkey dinner.
7 days a week. Today we got turkey dinner. So fork over your $2, go in the front door, see a nice gal, her name's Tara. Fork over your $2. If you don't have the $2, well, we'll feed you for free. So get over there, and I don't have next month's calendar, so it is what it is. But they have something Saturday and Sunday. Every day they have something. So the Greek, the Holy Trinity, I don't even know how to say this, Philippotopoulos, is going to be this Saturday, November 2nd. Great, tasty Greek food from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. in the Hellenic Cultural Center, 41 Broadway Street, lovely Lowell, Massachusetts. Be there or be square. Be good stuff to eat. And this is coming up in lovely, Danny Rook gave me this when he visited us earlier this week, the mayor. And Veterans Day 2024 is going to be November 8th. It's going to be celebrated we're going to honor it, I should say, on Friday the 8th. And we'll talk about this more next week. And anything else? That's it. So Evelyn, you lucked out.
Oh, that
That's
was
it,
short
kid.
today.
Back to
Okay.
you.
Oh, yeah.
There you
Well,
go.
we'll see how it goes.
minutes.
So I was asking Jay a question about budgets.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I have to say, finances in general, when it comes to like cities and schools, is certainly like the hot topic. I do a lot of work also with the Mass Association of School Superintendents, and we actually met yesterday to take a look at like legislative platforms. And I have to say, about 90% of the different issues that are affecting schools, not only in our area but across the state, have to deal with finances, whether it's Chapter 70, reimbursement for special education costs, whether it's tuitions or transportation, rural schools being impacted by some of their funding being reduced. Regional schools are really struggling because we had several communities actually had overrides last year. I don't know of an override that actually passed.
No.
So that was pretty
Even in the wealthier
Correct.
communities, they failed. Right.
So that was just very interesting. And I think people having to readjust budgets now, kind of coming out of COVID as things are settling down a little bit. I think Chelmsford has actually done a very good job of managing finances for the last 5 or 10 years that I've been there, and certainly Paul was there a little bit prior, and has always run a very strong kind of financial ship in Chelmsford that's gone well. Tuesday, myself and Joanna, my business administrator at the school department, and Paul and Darlene and John sat down. We meet periodically just to review kind of finances in general.
Me and John Souza?
John Souza. Yeah, we have a financial agreement that the school committee ultimately signs off on because we're doing all of our end-of-the-year reporting. And again, we had a very strong year last year. On the school side, all of the ESSER money that we received was done as of September. On the town side, they had received a lot of ARPA money. That all ends by December. So a lot of those little extra pockets of money where we've used to really invest in infrastructure, whether it was upgrades to buildings across the town, HVAC systems.
You did not use that money to fund ongoing operations.
We didn't, no, and again,
Yeah.
districts that did are finding themselves in
Exactly.
even more trouble now.
Exactly.
But, no, I've always kind of been very conservative when it's come to just budgeting in general, but not to spend any type of one-time revenues on recurring costs.
Right.
So that's been something that I think has kind of helped us be just steady. You know, we obviously, we have a solid budget. We try to add a couple of things each year to just keep enhancing the programs that we have, but we don't have these kind of peaks and valleys, which are very difficult for municipal budgets. But that's certainly on the minds of everyone. And I think the districts that are struggling sometimes did add positions using their ESSER funds. On the town side, they did it with ARPA funds. But no, Chelmsford all in all is, I think, fairly strong. John did the 5-year outlook at the last town meeting we had a couple of
Yes.
weeks back. And again, the takeaway for me is just that things are starting to tighten up a little bit. That, you know, some of the costs that we just can't control, I know our insurance costs came in for next year for both active and retired employees significantly higher than we had been seeing recently. I don't know if that's an effect of, you know, during COVID, we actually saw them decrease a little bit or even just kind of plateau for a couple of years.
I think a lot of that is just inflationary. It's
Well, that,
inflationary.
and people weren't really accessing.
Well,
I
that's
think,
true.
Claims weren't as high because people weren't
Yeah.
accessing doctors as much, but now that people are back again, we're seeing those claims go up. So it's certainly going to be, I think, a tighter couple of years coming up, but I think we're in a good position to continue moving forward and progressing in Chelmsford. Again, Paul does a nice job. We work together when we're doing budgeting and finance for the town. It's not like one department is any more important than another. And again, it's been a good relationship that we've had.
And what you just described, I think, is very accurate and a predictor of things to come. We, in the assessor's office, we're trying to wrap up the numbers for the setting of the tax rate. And in going over the numbers, one thing I noticed, and I was a little shocked when we were aggregating the numbers and giving them to the Department of Revenue, real estate values for this period going forward. And you have to remember that the market is based about a year and a half or 2 year back. Okay, that's the basis of the market. But we had been seeing 8, 9, 7, 10% year-over-year growth in real estate values. From fiscal 24 to 25, they're flat. They're flat. And when I first started looking at the numbers, I thought, well, you know, I was a little concerned that maybe, you know, we had done something wrong. So I talked to assessors in other towns, and they said that they were seeing the same thing. And we talked to our consultant Vision Appraisal, and he validated the same thing. So actually what we're seeing now is a slowing down in increased
Right.
real estate value. So that may be a predictor of things to come as well, you know, so people need, I think the town manager has done a very good job over the last year and a half in trying to prepare and set the table for potential difficulty budget-wise. He's been very good about making sure people understand that, and you and he seem to be in sync on that. So it's good, and I think you've done just about everything you can, and you know, you're trying to maintain the programs that you have, but you've also done a very good job in not trying to project over what you think the revenue situation
Right.
is going to be. So
Well, when we talk about one-time money,
Right.
when we had the Arts Technology Education Fund discussion at some of our last meetings, part of the reason that staff isn't accessing the Arts Technology Education Fund monies is because of how you have managed those one-time monies within the school department.
they don't need it as much as
And
they
so they
needed
didn't
it,
need it as much.
as they did 15 years ago.
We established it so
Right.
that teachers would have another area of money, a pool of money that they potentially could buy things with that weren't part of the curriculum.
Right.
So that it would help them in the classroom, because there wasn't money available within the budget.
Right.
So my question to you, probably it's more a question from ATEF,
Sure.
is to be able to maybe publicize more about the clubs because they may not be part of that. And so we're gonna, we'll work on that, in January or whenever. And the new applications will be available, and then I know that you're a great supporter of that, and so is, Bill Silver and business manager and everybody else that's within the system. But it's just so that people that are in Chelmsford that's listening to this know that the money that is given to all these budgets from your tax base is spent wisely in most cases. We don't see excessive spending in areas, and as long as you understand, how budgets work and how money that comes in as revenue, is being spent or not being spent, you get a really good idea that we're doing really well fiscally, even though we're in some, the inflation and the economic situation and all that stuff. One of the other things that was in this bulletin had to do with.
Before you move on, Sam, can you read this one?
Yes. How is artificial intelligence influencing school leadership decisions, and how is artificial intelligence impacting how students are learning? Is your administration using AI as a tool for success, or do you see AI as detrimental for the learning success of the students? Good question.
And how do you measure whether or not the students are using it in their papers?
So AI is obviously newer for us, and it's something that we have to kind of get up to speed on. Something I'm sure the kids are actually more up to speed on than some of the adults are, which is typical when it comes to the use of technology. But I think AI is something that we just have to figure out how to embrace and figure out how to actually leverage to help kids and to help staff. It's not going away. We were actually invited to be part of, I think there were 8 districts that were selected to be kind of pilot districts to work with a kind of a think tank out of MIT that are taking a look specifically at the use of AI in public schools and how it can be effectively used by teachers, how students are using it, and again, how they can kind of leverage it for success. And then actually there's a policy component around putting, well, you'd love that, Evelyn, putting.
I was going to.
I didn't even think of that when I just said that. But
Right, but
putting
I was
policy
going to ask
in
if you had a
effect.
policy in effect.
Yeah, but it's so evolving that it's one of those policies and procedures you're going to put in place, and you're going to have to continually revisit because
yeah.
the technology is just going to outpace the practice and what we actually do. But Bill Silver, who's our tech director, and 7 other teachers, we had a guidance counselor and then teachers from the elementary, middle, and high school level attended their first session a week ago, Friday at MIT. And this group is actually going to work with us for 4 or 5 meetings over the course of the year to kind of dig into this. But when the notice came out, I jumped on it to see if we could be one of the districts to participate, and was very happy that we were selected to do so.
Good.
So regionally, I think we potentially could be kind of the hub to be able to bring this information back to all of our Merrimack Valley districts and start some focus groups and some discussion points on it. But I wanted our staff to be there getting the very best and first bite at the information that they can. MIT is obviously an excellent group to work with. They've got phenomenal staff there who are focused on this particular topic and how it's going to really affect K-12 education. So it's something that we're on. I don't honestly know enough about it, myself at this point. I wanted Bill to kind of take the lead on that. And they're going to be.
There's been no guidance from the state really at this point on that either.
No, I think the state's, well, they're also kind of partnering with this group, and they want to get districts exposed. I think it's kind of figuring out how this is all going to impact what we do day to day.
Well, there was a digital learning advisory committee that I was on
Yes, that still exists.
10 years ago, so they're still around?
They still, yeah, Bill is on that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a
And I
statewide
think
group.
that also has evolved, obviously, because of technology. So, and on that committee, there were a number of people, they were from Harvard and MIT and,
Yeah.
all the different think tanks that's there, besides the conservative ones.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a nice representation, a little bit more balanced, a little heavier on the liberal side, but a little bit more balanced than some of the other committees sometimes that DESE has. Then part of the reason I'm glad that person put the question up, because that was one
No, that
of
was a
my
good question,
questions
yeah.
as we were going through, because there was a court case, or there was a student in Massachusetts that did use AI in one of the papers, and then the teacher flunked the person because they used it. And apparently, the school system had a policy that said you can't use it. So the students have to be made aware of what the policies are also,
Right.
so that in advance of any type of paper or some other assignment that they may have, that they understand what plagiarism is
Right.
and what you can and cannot do. Sometimes it's very difficult because we do have some of our political leaders that as technology has advanced, people are able to go back and find out just how much they've plagiarized a lot of the stuff that they wrote, I feel like saying centuries ago, and
I think that
it's
particular,
unfortunate.
it's interesting to kind of play out, because I think that particular case focused around, I don't know enough about it to speak really intelligently, but most districts, or all districts, have some type of a plagiarism policy. And I think it's more of the argument about whose work is really the AI work, because I think the student used some AI as part of his paper, and then I don't know to what level he then modified it or whatnot, but it's an interesting topic, and it's going to be something that continues to come up, so we'll see where the guidance goes on that.
When I did all those papers, I mean, you had to be careful then, because you didn't
Right.
know, well, of course, in those days, you kind of
Well,
feared
no, but
whether or
then
not
you,
you're going to find
then you
out.
were actually just worried about someone copying from something else.
Right.
Right,
Where
but what
this
we
is-
did was, what I did was I just reworded so that it was my words versus somebody else's words, because
Mm-hmm.
when you read something, it's very difficult not to copy it, because, or when you write something, it may sound exactly like
No,
somebody else.
I think the standard in plagiarism is original thought.
Well, I
That's the
really
standard.
think that out there, you have companies that are creating these artificial intelligence apps, and it's going to be a purchasable thing. So you're going to say, which app do I want? Do I want a Ford? Do I want a GM? Do I want a Toyota? Do I want a Mercedes? This app will look at your paper, read it, analyze it, and text you back all the answers. And that'll be available this year. So it's and the
It's doing
education,
the
and it's something they're
research
going to
for
have to look into.
You already have, in the Word programs, you already have an app that will, if you write something, it will compare what you write and do an online search to see if there are similar things. So you already have some of that intelligence built into your current word processing programs.
It's kind of interesting. Anyway, one of the other things that, it's not pressing, it's not a hot topic, that was in here was frequently asked questions about student representatives to the school committee.
Yes.
So, do we have one?
We have two. Yeah,
good.
we have two representatives from the high school. The high school actually conducted, and it was highly contested. We had a lot of kids who were interested in serving as the student reps of the high school.
So they're actually voted.
They had to run for office,
Okay.
yeah. And they actually had to have a primary because there were so many, I think, students to do it.
That's funny.
So you have a.
We've had a practice of having two. I think we've always had two. Well, we had two when I got there.
What surprised me,
Did you have two?
I don't remember if I know we always had one.
Okay.
And then-
what surprised me was Evelyn and I were talking about this last night, and she tells me that it's state law. I did not know
You're
that.
supposed to have one, yeah.
And how long has that been? Has that been a long time in
I think
effect?
so.
Really?
Yeah.
I was not aware of that.
Yeah, no, we have
Yeah.
two. We have I'm just terrible with names, but we have a senior at the high school this year. She's been with us for, this is actually her third year. And then we had a new, Patrick joined us as a sophomore. So they try to have a little bit of, continuity, not to have, say, two seniors at the same time, because then, you'd roll over and you wouldn't have any consistency. But no, they actually had elections last spring, and they elected the two individuals to the board. So they come to every meeting, they participate, they share what's happening at the high school, and from time to time, the committee members will ask them questions if we're talking about a subject of how it impacts them.
I think that's great.
Yeah, we always did that, and a lot of times, well, we would be told, the kid would tell, whoever the student was, would tell us, I got some tests tomorrow, but can I get out of here early? And so we would vote to readjust the
90
agenda and deal with that, so. Anyway, thank you very much for coming.
No, I apologize for being a few minutes late, but it's always fun to come and talk.
Right, well, we want to also, the next time that you come, talk a little bit more about the Parker School building project.
Sure.
And hopefully.
That's going to be getting off the ground right
Yes.
after the holidays.
Yeah. And it's far enough in advance that if people in Chelmsford do vote to
Do the
do
fire
all
station.
of the fire stations, that it's not an overlap as much with your tax base. And it's a debt exemption, it's not an override. And so we'll see how that goes. But Happy Halloween.
Thank you. Happy Halloween. Hope everyone's safe tonight, out trick or treating.
Don't eat too many Snickers bars.
I know. It's the Reese's peanut butter cups that get me.
Anyway, next week we have Donna Newcomb coming on, and it's kind of, it'll be nice as a sequence to, of what you have talked about with all the different things that she's also doing in the school system in Lowell.
Is she a school committee person?
No,
She's an ex-school committee person.
A former?
Former,
Yes.
yeah, she was
But
on
she's
our
a teacher
committee
in Lowell.
for 6 years, but she's been a
Say
teacher
goodbye,
in Lowell
kids.
for a
We
long
gotta
time.
go.
See you
Bye-bye.
later. Bye.
Thanks for getting up extra early. See you tomorrow.